Okay, we start now the second part of our lecture about China. We were talking today about difference between people living in the south of each country and the north, and it's like a very well-known macrobiotic law that people born in the north of each country, in the west north parts of the country, they are usually more better organized and working harder, because people living in the south of they usually more less organization, and they could be more lazy. But it could be different for China. Maybe you can tell us about differences between people living in different parts of China, and about your province, because you're coming from Yunnan province.
Here on the board, it's interesting. Even the scale may be not right, because maybe the size is different. But anyway, so the top is the map of China, and then also I point out the 2 points. This one, the province, actually my own home, and then the university I'm teaching is from here. So it's the southwest of China, the whole area called the southwest part of China. This province called Sichuan, in Chinese meaning 4, like rivers, and from the writing. And then I have another like a place to go half of a year. I will spend time here in Yunnan, the province right down in this way, but this in complex writing compared with this simplified Chinese writing. And then later I will tell the story about complex and simplified. So those 2 provinces, usually I have my work and then my education and then my program going on. And then you can see southwest, this close to be Tibet. So this area with mountains and very beautiful. And also this area very sensitive, because the 2 main rivers from here down to, from the plateau height land down across the whole country from the west down to the east, and then go to the ocean. And the shape of China's map, we just say it's like a hand, and then even with the feet, and then with the head here, the Beijing important, kind of a heart. With this map, interesting information about this red line. It's a line to say down here is the south of China, up there is the north of China. Why draw this important actually for Feng Shui theory? China developed like courtyard typology housing, architecture typology. And then because Beijing or many capital city mainly in history is in the north, so getting sunshine from the south, so usually the courtyard will have such a space. Okay, this is a block of a building, and then this another block. So we say it's a courtyard building, and then here there's another one. So if we say this is north, it's good, and then this is the south. So the sun moves like this way, from here east to west, and then here important to get most sunshine, because it's a city in the north, face to the south, and here is the courtyard space. So maybe with a tree here, with a well here, something people from the family can share the public space. And then in China, all the courtyard typology all mainly sit in the north, face the south. That's important for direction, for Feng Shui typology. And then people in the family, the eldest, like grandfather or father, usually grandfather, grandmother, they will live here. And then in the middle will be the important room with their signs for ancestors, respect their like
an altar.
Yeah. And then here will be brother and the younger brother and then some servants living here because they have such a hierarchy.
Yeah.
The direction. If they have more family, they maybe get more courtyard, like connect, and then extend more and more housing. And then even they have some space, corridor, you can go to the other courtyard. If you have another courtyard, so they can have a lot of courtyard, but people, the family, all family can live together. So, and back to the south of the north, like Barbara just said, you know, geography, like environment can factor culture. Mainly in the south, the agriculture quite easier than the north for people to get rice and food and fruits, vegetables. So the people here, they're more like rich with foods, but up the north, it's hard for them grow up like crops, or they mainly need to how to say, hunting animals, you know, like nomad, they move around, like this is Mongolia area, this is Xinjiang, and the very north, they all like hunting animals, so they are not really stable with one place. But in the south, the population very dense, because they live together, they have their field for generation by generation, then they have a expensive house always there because it's a heritage for the families. I like to say about the province, like because we just in the first part we had this beautiful tea, and then we like to talk about the tea in China, because the tea, the culture tea, very important in China, and then since 4,000 years ago. Like at the beginning we had tea, and then the tea always follow with our culture, become our everyday life, and even like influenced Europe a lot. I know here, like in Netherlands, in England, France, there's so many like people like drink tea, and then Chinese tea used to be very popular, and then even the China to have the tea, it's a big industry. And then my own space is in Sichuan, but in Chengdu, the big city with 10 million population. It's the fourth biggest city in China except Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou. And then I think 2012, Chengdu is the fattest developing city in the world, and it's also with the only city with pandas breeding center.
Oh, of course.
So it's a lovely city, but now I think it's developed too quick, and then more like a concrete forest, like Shanghai or Beijing. So, and then now I have some project going in Yunnan. I really like the place with the countryside, especially with a special culture. It's called a minority culture. In China, we have 56 different like minorities. We use this word, actually it's maybe not right, but anyway, we have 56 kind of group of people. They have their own like culture and their dressing, and then their customs, including like for example Tibetans. They even have their own language and the writings. So in Yunnan, it is the province with the most. It has 22 minorities, even only in this province.
Yeah. How many languages you have?
I don't know. Maybe even like for one minority, like the place I had the NGO. We're having NGO program there. We call it's Hani. It's pronounced by Chinese. It's written by this, and I have an image for it. This group of people, they moved from Sichuan north down to Yunnan, and then have had a settlement there, settled down there for hundreds of years. And then even for this, like a minority, they have hundreds of dialects. They even don't understand each other because they are all, different groups, but they are all one minority. So this cloth made this rough materials is their very traditional cloth. Then they have this white and then the dark blue color. That's their symbol for their dressing. But the other honey, they have red, so it's totally different. It's so amazing. So this province called Yunnan, and from the writing, you can see the meaning Yunnan means fields in cloth. And then there's a picture famous. You can see it used to be high mountain. A lot for mountain, because Yunnan also is with Tibet with a plateau where generally it's 1,000 meter above sea level. So there's a lot of mountains. Then those local people, the people minority move down. They have to have villages here, but they don't have enough flat fields for them for rice. So they do the rice field, cut the mountain to have a field, and then the water they will use pipe or something to move up, and then have the water from the mountain if it's natural water, or from a little bit lower getting up, or from the top they getting down. So the water flow with the field and then irrigate every fields. So each family they have some pieces for rice fields, but they share the irrigating system. The irrigating system really organized. Fantastic. So the water only maybe one source of water, but it irrigate every family's field and then connected and down to the
they need to cooperate.
They need to cooperate, and then they need to have a regular time, like in autumn. Usually it's September to October, because they finish harvest and then they start to have the water go to the field, and then later have the soil to absorb the humidity, and the next season they start to have a new rice, and then this field really like fields in the clouds, and then the people worked so hard, generation by generation, and build such beautiful fields. So Yun means clouds. So this writing, you see the water drops. So it's more like with rain, and then we have a clouds, or with clouds we have rain, and the rain become water to irrigate the whole field, and then people have food and have their life. So it's a very beautiful province, and then very agriculture, agriculture lifestyle.
Yeah, like you said, that the culture of China, especially of South China, is based on agriculture, because it creates the stability for the families.
Yeah.
And they stick together and they build their lives.
Yeah.
On the this is the basic for the society, the family life and combined with agriculture. Very interesting.
Yeah, actually for myself, I have worked as an architect for almost 20 years, more than that. And then in the past, I really focusing on architecture design itself, as you know, design, as engineering, as you know, even like a science. But now I do work here. I'm working here. I found that, wow, agriculture gives you a lot of knowledge and inspiration, and then let you know how people deal with nature. And agriculture in China actually had 1,000 years experience. We have a very, not thick book, but it's called 齐民要术. It's all about agriculture. Even now, there's some institute that they have modern agriculture knowledge, like from Australia, from United States, from England. But actually, you still can find it, learn from 齐民要术, the book. The book talk about everything about agriculture, like the irrigation system, and then it's really precise, even tell you every day what time you should do what.
This is the agriculture calendar. Actually, the flying star principle is based on the same calendar.
Yeah.
Because it's 1,000 years of
calendar.
But you have also another very interesting book, which is actually from Middle Ages, and I was happy enough to read the translation of this book, and it's Luban, and it was actually it was the book of carpenters.
Yeah, carpenters.
Very interesting way of designing houses, because actually proportions. It was very important issue. They even people were concerned about how long every beam in the house should be, which way it should be cut, and it was a sacred book, because I heard that even the book carpenters they were allowed to use it only if they had a bath, if they were meditating for some time, and then the book was wrapped in a red cloth, and they have to be prepared to read the book. It was a sacred book, because the knowledge which was in this book could help them to build houses for people which were protecting the family life and giving the happiness.
Yes.
And your culture is everything about being happy, living very long life and having a lot of children. It's very fantastic principle and fantastic philosophy, actually.
Yeah, I think it's a good part. We still have Lu Ban as our godfather of traditional architecture.
Yeah.
And then now, China try to get these things back to our, profession. Doesn't matter it's how modern, but also for Chinese Architecture Award, the top one, they say called the Award of Luban. So it's really kind of still encourage people, respect people with good carpenter, like their handmade, also very precise professional thinking in that way. So like you said, from Lu Ban the book, and also from agricultural system book, I feel like even it's in the old time, the systematic thinking, logical thinking, and the very precisely to get things, with different types. Ordering. It's very actually developed very well. People always thinking how make the things improved, and then the life quality and the construction to be good. But now, in China, maybe recent 20 years, it's developed too fast. And then I think maybe better to slow down to get such a things to be better quality rather than just rush for the speed.
But this knowledge is not lost because you have those books, and it's fantastic about your culture. In our European culture, there is so much different information which we can't even. I mean, because of the tradition in China, that old knowledge survived, and in old geomancy knowledge in Europe, we could see it in I could see it in old buildings. But actually, there is no book and no tradition to follow that information from let's say 500 years ago, and we trying to gather some pieces of knowledge, but then we really. We based now on your knowledge about Feng Shui and Geomancy, because we don't have our European books about it.
Okay, that's what also I like to ask. Why you're so interested in Feng Shui, and then with such like so many Chinese books, and you learn from there. And then at the beginning, I thought. I know it's very popular in Europe for a while, for a period of time, like maybe feel Eastern, like in the East, our long history is quite mysterious.
Yeah, we don't have those books in Europe because we know stories. England is famous about ley lines. There is huge knowledge people they have about ley lines, but it's not. The knowledge is not based on the good writings from the Middle Ages, and actually I live close to the Benedictine convent, and I think Benedictines it was through the ages only Catholic Church and Benedictines they were keeping the history written down, and we lost many books because of Inquisitions. Inquisition movement, and actually it's also some you can tell that this knowledge was not for everybody, and this the same in China. It survived in China because of 4 families. They kept the secrets, and they were keeping the secrets through the ages, and you had enough books about it. You have enough writings. You had tradition. Which was following the rules, and in Europe it looks like about 16th century we lost the knowledge, and that's why we have to. There are so many basic stuff which is similar in European geomancy. Chinese geomancy we based on Saturnus magic square, and. Coming back to macrobiotic principles in dividing the countries, I have to tell there is a big difference between behavior of people living in the south of Poland and the north of Poland, and if we can compare it with, because you said in China it's just other way around. The people in the south they are more dense. I mean, they're living more dense because they are busy with agriculture, but they are also more, let's say, talented in the commerce.
For business. The trade, like with overseas, happen along the ocean line, and I know there's a Silk Road, but by water, the absolutely more efficient.
In Poland, it's a bit different because I have idea people living in the north part of Poland, of western part of Poland, they are much better organized than people in the south. And it's the macrobiotic principle is telling that people from the north are better in organization, and people from the south part of many countries they are much better in art and architecture and aesthetic stuff, but not so well organized. But it's just artistic. If you compare Italy, let's say Italy, you can say this more industrial. Northern part is more industrial than south of Italy. There are some countries that when the this principle is working very well. But in China it's a bit different, but it's because of the ocean.
Yeah,
we have the sea from the north
yeah.
part.
I think
actually.
this part you have sea lines. Yeah, maybe still with water. Water change, you know, the life and the culture and you know communication. What the way to communicate.
Yeah. There is also another very important story about talking about geomancy and actually energy of the earth, and it has to do like you have in China. When I was studying in Taiwan, we spent few days doing excursions with our master, and he was showing us how to find dragon lines in the landscapes, because it's very important if you want to find the power spot. To build a house or to find a graveyard. I mean, in Poland we don't do this, but in Taiwan it's very common that if somebody wants to improve his life, he's looking for a perfect place for a graveyard of his parents, and then they even change the graveyards and they're putting somewhere in the mountains in a perfect spot, which is having that special structures of the hills behind. But coming back to Poland, there is a story. It's a very important moment in Polish history when the Krakow used to be capital city for Poland, and in 17th century they moved the capital to Warsaw, and from that moment Poland was actually very good developed country, very strong one, and then from the that moment of changing capital from Krakow to Warsaw, it was very bad moment for our history and our. I mean, it was not. Poland was not so powerful after all, and the Krakow is very famous because of the this very famous power spot. Is like they call it chakram. It's like power place, and there are many different names for this, but this Wawel, which is the king's castle, is built on the hill where inside there is very strong point with special sort of radiation, which makes this place so important for Poland. And Warsaw is not the same energy, completely not the same energy. And I think you have the same. We are talking about in history. Most of the important big cities, they were planned very carefully by people having the knowledge about geomancy, and they were choosing the right spots. And there were different measurements. They needed different measurements, but they were always looking for forms of the hills around for the right place next to the water. But and in a few cases they were looking also like Krakow. There are some places which are having more energy, a different sort of energy which is coming, which actually the line of the dragon's line are showing. And I mean, it's a pity that in modern study nobody is teaching us how to find the right place to build a house. And actually, this knowledge should be well known for the architects.
And when you talk about story of your country, and then it remind me like with our maps here. You know, it's the shapes, and it's about the form, about location. My friend, he's doing PhD in I Ching. You know, it's very complex and then very very mysterious for me. And then he actually played consultant for architects, and then once he talked with me, I remember one sentence. It's so interesting. He said, when you do urban planning or town planning, or you know, with some shapes or you know, architecture planning, and then see the forms, And then he said, actually, that's some theory. Maybe he's doing research in. He believes. I think I believe he believes. He said that this form down to the earth actually is a react of the universe. So the things in the universe has something, and it reflects down to the earth. So when you do the shape, you just need architects or planner not only just see what happened on your site. You better to see around. Actually, we usually do that, but not enough. He said you should look up, see the sky. What happened above the site, above this area? Oh, that's really make me feel like, wow, I never think like when we do urban planning, we see what happened on the earth, and then suddenly he opened my mind like you should look up to see what happened in front of the sky. But still now I need to do more study. What happened there? What's the relationship there and with here? The connection between the sky with the earth with outside, mainly we talk about the climate. Or about the sunshine, about the rain. But except that if we go further, is there anything? Some sign we still don't know. Maybe we should do more, you know, get in the space.
But it reminds me there is very well-known principle in Buddhist Feng Shui. It is not even in Poland. They know this well-known Black Hat school. But this guy, who is actually Chinese guy, who spent his young years in the old White Cloud temple, and they had teachings from 1,000 years ago, and they teach him that when you go somewhere and you have to give advice to your client, and you're coming for the first time on the spot where you will give the advice, first you look up and you see if they are the clouds, if it's dark, if it's getting how it looks like, and how the clouds behave above the ground, and that's the first sign you have to consider in giving advice to your clients. That's it looks like the same story behind what you're talking about.
But I think for architects right now we don't really can do that. So we mainly be trained as work on site mainly. But with the whole universe, I think you choose the right approach. Like you learn more from Feng Shui. There's a system. So it's good for help design and maybe even good for a country. I don't know.
Let's say something about different schools in Feng Shui, because there are so many of them, and when you have to make advice to your clients, or you have to choose a place for building to find a new settlement for the building, we have to based on the knowledge of form school and on the knowledge of compass school. And compass school is all about measuring and using compass and using such a tool like geomantic. This just sort of compass which is on a transparent piece of paper, and we can put it on the map and looking for good sitting position and facing position for the house. And there's actually very complex knowledge behind this, because you have to consider place of even the trees around and the hills behind the house. And it's quite complicated, and you have to study a long time before you really can become very good in it and to get some routine. But some other schools which are combined with Buddhism, they they based on your feeling when you when you are coming somewhere, and on the energy, which is very subtle energy, and then you have to develop different skills. You need to be sensitive to feel the energy, but you can also measure this by special tools like what the people being busy with radiesthesia using. Dowsing methods, by looking for the water, looking for the crossing of different lines of energy. It's very complex knowledge, and actually you need to study a lot, and you need to study Chinese medicine to give good advice, and that's why there are not many architects studying this Feng Shui stuff, because it's just another long study.
Yeah,
it's life study actually.
It is.
And yeah. But I think in Europe it was exactly the same story, like I told you about the people building old cathedrals. They had to study for about 30 years before they could decide which way the new building has to be constructed. And but when you choose such a profession like architect, you have to decide during your work. You're deciding about people's life, and it gives we have a lot of responsibility in our in our profession. That's why we need to study all our. I mean, good architect is actually studying all his life, because even every new design is for different sort of people on different place. And you have to be very flexible. You have to be very open for the information. Yeah, we have a very hard life actually.
But I should appreciate, like Barbara, you spent your time and then your energy for this stuff, because like we already talked for the first part, and then even talk about two countries. We know like a lot of knowledge from old Chinese, like Feng Shui theory, really mean a lot of things for us, even for today or even for future. I'm a little bit lucky than you, because I do my architecture practice in China, and I have a lot of friends, around me, or experts in China. They already have, that they are experts for Feng Shui. So right now I'm doing a project for IT, very famous top 3 of China, in China, and then they have their office buildings for them, and then they really care about the Feng Shui.
Yeah, nice.
And then they have also like hotels for all the staff and for conference, and then the hotel, the manager specifically told me, we really need to do good Feng Shui for the hotel. Otherwise, I'm worried about my business management. And he has a partner, really expert. He's a monk in a temple, and he wrote a lot of poems and books about Zen. Zionism, Taoism. So I don't really need to do this study by myself. I just work with them and then talk with them, and then they will give me some suggestion, and they will use maybe the compass to do the direction. So I just think, in China it's easy to have such guys work together. But that's why I appreciate your work, because here maybe very hard for you. You got so many books, then you try to have such knowledge from far away from China and back here, and let people to understand. So
because I have the knowledge. Usually when I design the house, I incorporate the knowledge about the direction of the facing direction. People even doesn't know this, because when I see the new plan on the map, I could really tell what will happen to those people living if they're sleeping in the north part of the house, because I know that they will have problems. And if I have the knowledge, I have to use it, even if they don't know about it, because it makes big difference. But then what you telling me about what's going on in China now about Feng Shui, it makes me very happy, because when I was on one of the first, we had a very long journey organized by Roger Green in '98, and it was like a first group of international people, busy experts of Feng Shui. I mean, we were studying the Feng Shui, but he organized for us a workshop with Professor. It's better if you read the name, because it's quite.
Chen Jianjun. Yeah, Chen Jianjun professor.
And he, the guy is an architect, and he is teaching as well architecture. And he told us, and he was studying. He had a very deep knowledge, very specific knowledge about some different, very difficult methods of Feng Shui, compass school. And he told us that he's not allowed to use Feng Shui in his work for normal people, but he's doing secretly, and he's a consultant for people from government. And it was like 15 years ago, no, even then it was not so well known, and it was not allowed. He was not allowed to do it for somebody else. I mean, incorporate in his designs. But I think the situation is changing a lot, and there are so many people studying Feng Shui nowadays.
Yeah, I should say in the past, like 10 years ago, I don't believe. I say, because 80s, you know, just after Cultural Revolution, or 70s, 80s, it's a kind of a Feng Shui. It's refused by people and by government. But now you know more, and you know there's so much knowledge inside, so it's different now.
But you have to study with masters, because you can't really learn from the books.
It's hard.
It's a completely different knowledge, and there are some books you can buy in Europe, which just trying to mix up all the knowledge. They are not really real. It's not the real knowledge. It was made up especially for people from which were not originally from China, or from Hong Kong, or from Asiatic countries. They suppose not to use this knowledge, and it was a secret knowledge, actually.
Yeah. But also, I found somebody try to combine like computer system, or use modern technology to help this complex system to work. I don't know. Do you know any of this?
It's actually too many informations. We need about. We're using like 3-4 rings for making advising for a plot.
Yes.
But there is a way to choose the right day, and I think it's still quite difficult. And I rather choose I can do it with calendar. But if you want, you can study. You can use all knowledge which is combined in the compass, but then you need like maybe 20 years to study, because it's just too complex and too complicated. But then I really need to learn Chinese language. I'm using some of pictograms and letters, but about 30-40 of them.
But I think for Chinese letters, not hard for like your architect, because it's mainly about drawing. So I think also it's like with a lot of logic inside. Even like I talk about earlier, say some architects or designers or artists in China, they even put these letters as a layout for for building or for planning. It's even I don't really agree. Like these letters from the space have pictures for you. Then you make the letters as the design back to the side. I don't think that's really works. But the letters really inspire you of. The image of the space, what happened in the history, because all the letters Chinese created with some reason. Also with knowledge like this ring, that means ring, and then here means cloud, but then they combine together and it makes sense. It's a story.
It's a story. Every letter is a story. Really beautiful.
I really had such a nice talking with you, and then we have 2 parts. I think we cover a lot of topics, and from architecture, typology, from actually history and the culture, like from China, and then for Feng Shui, deal with landscape, deal with philosophy, even psychology, and it's really. Let me really happy to see what happened even out of China, and we have such common things, and also we can use for future, and we learn from each other. From your view must be different from my view.
And for me, it's a big pleasure to talk about with the real expert, because I had to travel to China to learn. This fantastic knowledge, and you were born in the country where this knowledge is like you drink. We say in Poland, you drink it with your mother milk.
Oh yes, I think it's from my blood, but you are more professional in this way than me, I think. So
my family is laughing at me that I'm Chinese inside because I love to eat rice.
So I hope we can see, like maybe meet soon in China, and
let's hope we can do it soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and also thank everyone to have this discussion with us. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.